In this segment, we're going to look at the second major section of my outline, which covers Joshua 6 to 12. This is the Conquest section, all the battles, chapter 6 to 11 at least. And probably familiar to most of you if you know the stories of Joshua. So chapter 6 is the story of the destruction of Jericho. And notice the emphasis, the circling of Jericho 6 times and then 7 times on the 7th day. All of that is, in a sense, to show that this is not just a military exercise. It's kind of a reminder. It's like a holy day. It's like a festival. The priests are prominent here. The ark is prominent here. And again, this is to show that this is God's doing this, and it's for much more than just a purpose of having battles. And so the walls come tumbling down. The family of Rahab significantly is saved, echoing back the promises in chapter 2. And Israel has its first great victory here. It's undermined by the treachery in chapter 7, verse 1 and following, where Achan takes some of the devoted things. We'll have a segment on those that destruction and the devoted things, the sacredness of that. This is to be devoted all to destruction as an offering to the Lord, in a sense. Achan violates that. And I think it's interesting to see that the next battle then with Ai, the Israelites lose, and the whole point there is that Israel is not above the law. Israel is not above God's instructions. Israel is not exempt from God's requirements, and it's not just the Canaanites he's going to punish, but he's going to punish Israel if they violate that, and that's what happened. So they dealt with Achan, and then Israel had victory in the next battle of Ai. End of chapter 8, verses 30 to 35 is a covenant renewal ceremony that echoes instructions in Deuteronomy. So they're kind of renewing the covenant, sanctifying themselves and the land. Chapter 9 tells about the deception of the Gibeonite tribes, the Gibeonites who come from a near place and pretend that they've come from a faraway place. The instructions in Deuteronomy were that they were to completely destroy all the locals, but not necessarily those foreigners. So the local Gibeonites deceive the Israelites, and as a result, they escape the destruction. Israel's fault was not that they were deceived. Israel's fault was that they did not seek the Lord's guidance in dealing with these Gibeonites. That's the problem. And so they ended up with a treaty with the Gibeonites. The Gibeonites were going to be their servants, but they were to be defended and so on. So chapter 10, there's a coalition of kings that comes, and it tests this agreement, of the Israelites with the Gibeonites. They're attacking the Gibeonites, and Israel comes to their defense, and we have this great battle. And God wins the battle for them with a great hailstorm. You have the little piece about the sun and the moon standing still. And then the end of chapter 10, you have kind of a summary of the rest of the battles. There's 7 cities that are described there as destroyed, the people driven out. I don't know if you've noticed, but we think of the great destruction of the land, but there's only 3 cities that specifically are said to be actually being destroyed and burned. That would be Jericho, Ai, and then in chapter 11 in Hazor in the north. The rest of the cities, it doesn't really say that. It just says they drove out the inhabitants, killed people, and so on. And in that sense, the promises that God made back in Deuteronomy 6, where it says, I'm going to give you houses you did not build, wells you did not dig, and so on, are being fulfilled here. They are dispossessing the people of the land, but then settling into the houses that were left and reaping the benefits of that. So the popular image of the kind of complete total destruction and annihilation of the land is misguided because they are settling into places like that. Chapter 11 then is the story of the campaign in the north. And then chapter 12 is kind of a summary statement of all the kings that were defeated.